Welcome in everyone to another live edition of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin here with my co-host for the day, filling in for Jimmy Haskell, Jason Pruett of DraftPlex. Very thankful to have Jason here with us tonight. First and foremost, Jason, how are you doing today?
Oh, we're doing okay. We're less than 10 days to the draft, so we're getting very, very close. Just trying to wrap up a few of the last things before we got to kind of bear down and start making things to get scored. So,
That's
but
right.
things are looking good. The board's in good shape. Rankings are in good shape. So, whatever we got planned for tonight, I think I'm prepared.
No doubt, no doubt. And what's going on, Tyler? Appreciate you coming out. Malik, Connor, appreciate you guys being active in the chat. Now, do you know if the award or the I guess award's the right word. Is it going to be a belt again this year if you take home the championship?
It would be. I'd have
Okay.
to figure out what it would look like. Maybe just do a different strap. I don't know. I don't want to get
Yeah,
too far ahead of myself. I was like, well, if I get another one, then it'll look good with the other one.
that's right.
So we'll see. Because
Okay.
there's two things you get scored on. It's the mock draft and the top 100. And ever since I got the mock draft, I was like, I want that top 100.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten close a couple times. I'm in the top 10 overall for the last 5 years for that, and I'm like the only one that hasn't won it like 4 times. So it's pretty stiff competition. The mock, it's just it's kind of luck of the draw.
Mm-hmm.
But top 100, that takes a little bit more effort, intuition on what things are happening, and there's just a lot of good resources out there that just kind of nail the thing year after year. So just looking to compete hard with that. But
Mm-hmm.
if I happen to get both, I'd get 2 belts,
Oh man,
So,
double straps, just wearing them at the
exactly.
same time. Yeah, that would be tough. But all right, what's going on, Jax? Jamal Hooper, my guy. What's going on, buddy? Katie, appreciate you being in the chat as well. Yeah, so for this episode, I think what will be kind of cool is since you have a firm grasp on really all 32 teams and what they're going to be doing. I'm going to play the role of Eric DeCosta and the Baltimore Ravens, and I'm going to ask you to put your GM hat for all other 31 teams selecting, or all, actually, I guess I should ask, are all 32 teams, do they all have a selection in this round?
No, Houston doesn't.
Okay.
Cleveland doesn't. I'd
Does
have to look.
LA finally have one?
The Rams finally, for like the first time in 8 years, have a first round pick, and we'll see
Wow.
if that sticks. They may try to trade back. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
So,
crazy.
so yeah, I think we're somewhere about 29 or 30 teams.
Okay.
Because the right now the Vikings have two and the Cardinals have two.
And
So the
Chicago?
Chicago does have two as well. So Carolina's the other one. Carolina picks
Gotcha.
33, so they're top of the second round.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. So you're gonna have to have 30 hats sitting next to you, and put them all on accordingly. But no, we're gonna jump right into. I think what would be cool is if we try and make this as non cookie cutter. Not to say inaccurate. Certainly want to try and be accurate, but not just what the general population is right, because it seems like every mock draft is starting to look generally the same. And I think what we
hmm
could do here is not just try and make it more accurate, but also like we're gonna talk trade anything you guys want to that you want to put in front of me here, Jason. I can make happen. Even if that means trading, up or guys trading back. So, uh,
Yeah, and let's get some audience participation. If y'all want to be like, hey,
sure.
let's have them trade up and see what happens. Like we can do that too. No, that
Hmm.
sounds good. Now, one question before we do get started is like, which
Yeah.
good player do you want me to just let fall to the Ravens? Since that seems to be what happens
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
often. So
man. I'll tell you what. I would not be upset at all if one of any of the top tackles get there, because what I'm looking for, Jason, is a tackle that can play right this year and transition to left next year. So I'm not necessarily looking for a permanent right tackle. I'm looking for a part-time right tackle who will quickly transition to left once Ronnie Stanley is escorted out of the building after this upcoming season. So, look, if you want to, man, is the mic picking up the helicopter that's apparently hovering over my home right now?
not that I hear.
No, okay. He's got a good quality
They're
microphone
they're
here.
ready to pick you up for the front office, and we haven't even got started yet.
That's what it is. That's what it is. It's Steve Bisciotti landing on my roof. No, I mean Joe Alt will be the preferred,
Let's
but
have
I don't.
Joe Alt slide all the way to 30.
Yeah, I don't think. I love what Gideon's saying. Mims is hitting a gas mask, I heard. So yeah, everyone's already trying to to get guys to drop. But I haven't seen any news. But look, a lot of that stuff's draft night, so maybe we will see a draft night slip by some drama or some news that hits and all that. But let's get into it. I'm going to pull up the screen here and we'll start going through this thing here. So I gave us control of all 32 teams as it's currently standing here. I actually had it sorted by O tackle here, but all right. So currently, Chicago Bears are on the clock after trading with Carolina. So with the
AJ
number
McCarthy.
Is there any doubt that Caleb
let's
Williams
send
is
him all the way up the top? No, there's no doubt. Caleb Williams, and even now I'm starting to see that number 2 is pretty well penciled in with Jaden Daniels. So
yeah, where is
that
Jaden
seems pretty solid at this point.
Yep. It's all but been leaked by the players themselves on podcasts, it seems like.
Yeah. Patriots is where it gets interesting. They've
really got to trade.
What's that?
Do you think there could be a trade here, or do they stand pat?
Me personally, like I put the Vikings trading up to 3 in my 2.0 mock. Just like the main slots people are looking at as being the trade possibilities is 4 to the Cardinals because they've basically said they're open for business, and then the Chargers because it seems like they want a wide receiver, but they really want an offensive lineman, and so if they were to take that trade, they just drop down to 11. They can still get Fuaga, they can get Fashanu, they can get Fautanu. Like, so, I mean, there's a possibility for all of those there. So, I mean, to be honest, like, I think the Patriots, it does come down to 3 things. They can take Drake May, they can trade JJ McCarthy, they can be open for that trade. But
wow. So you don't think there's any chance they take Marvin Harrison?
At this point, I don't think so.
Okay.
I really think, like, if they were to do that, it would make a whole lot of sense. But at the same time, they can drop back to 11 and get Brian Thomas, or they can, take a lineman there and then go with 23, or, maybe even the second round. Me personally, I think that would probably be the best thing for them to do is take Harrison. I just don't like. I wrote this when I had them make the trade in the mock. It's like they have so many holes. It's like it's great if you want to take a young quarterback, but like you're going to dump him right into a bad situation. And not saying that Mac Jones was the end all be all for it and should have been the next Tom Brady there, but like he didn't have a whole lot of help. And whoever if they draft a quarterback is going to be the same situation. Maybe it turns out better for either one of those guys, but I don't know. I'd much rather, like get the ammo, build up more of the team around him. Maybe you come back around like I had him do at the end of the first round and get Bo Nix at 32. So,
yeah, I'm hearing a lot of Penix talk is rising the boards as well.
Yeah. So we've got that possibility too of both of those guys, so I have them both as 1-2 right now because like they could both go in the first round, and then we got 6 quarterbacks going in the first round. So it'd be a pretty interesting night.
I would love that as a Ravens fan. Absolutely love
that. That would work in your favor because then you're bringing down more position players, more linemen, more corners, more receivers even. So if we can get all 6 of those guys in the top 15, I would hate it from a mock draft perspective because that's probably going to break everything. Not that it's already in bad shape as it is, to start out because you don't know where these quarterbacks are going.
Yeah.
But for the sake of doing this, let's throw the wild card in there and say the Patriots like JJ McCarthy.
Ah, okay. All right. Let me sort by quarterback because he's probably going to be quite low. There we go. So JJ McCarthy, this is as surprising as I think some people in the chat may find it. This wouldn't completely shock me because I do think teams are falling in love with JJ McCarthy. And this is a new regime in New England. This isn't Bill Belichick's team, and maybe they just feel like this is the guy that can kind of be the start of this new transition period where they get rid of the old guard and Bill Belichick and leave Tom Brady and that legacy behind, and JJ's the new guy. So all right, so they go JJ McCarthy. This is a prime position for the Cardinals, in my opinion, to absolutely just load up on picks and surround Kyler with a ton of talent. Or they could say, look, this guy, Marvin Harrison, or any of the receivers, Neighbors, or even, was it Rome?
Rome, yeah.
Yeah. Even Rome. I mean, what do you think they do here? If you're the Cardinals GM, what are you doing?
Well, I think they'd really like to have Marvin Harrison. They've already got 2 first-round picks. Do they want more than that? I think they could use them.
Yeah.
What do the Vikings want to do? Do they want Drake May? Do they want to jump the Giants in case that were to come to pass?
Mm-hmm. They
Let's have
could.
let's have the Vikings trade up to number 4.
I love it. I love it. All right. So Minnesota Vikings trade to number 4 and give up. What do you think it's going to take to get from 11 to 4?
That's a good question. Let me pull up what I did in the mock, because had them go to 3. It's gonna be
That's a
11
big
and 20,
drop. 23 to
11 and
108. Whew.
11 and 23 for sure.
Oh, and
So
23. Okay.
so when I had them go up to 3, New England got 11, 23, and 129, and then the first and third in 2025. For this, it probably just lets you just do the picks, right? So I mean, or like you can kind of force the trade.
You
And then
could.
in
Yeah.
return, Minnesota got 3 and 68. But for this one, it would be 66. So that would
4
be
and
kind of like a little,
66.
yeah.
Okay. And that's giving fair value
Yeah.
right here. Wow. So to move up 7 spots, wow, you got to give up 3 ones basically, because you're giving up.
Yeah, based on that, there's a couple of trade charts that are out there, like publicly available, you can look at. And so I did the math to make sure that if I posted a trade, I wanted to put what the compensation was.
Gotcha.
So this is obviously just guesstimating, because like I had them go from 11 to 3. So like what we have here may be a little bit of an overpay, even though it's going up to number 4. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head about what each pick's worth, but you're definitely looking at, the 2 ones plus the 1 next year. And then, and I had them do a pick swap just to give Minnesota something back. So it could very easily just be 11, 23, maybe the 1 and the 3 next year. But, I think we can force the trade, because we're only doing the first round mock. So it's not going to throw anything off.
I like it. Whoa, why is it not letting me hit? Okay, there we go. Force trade. Okay. All right. So
And Minnesota's coming up for Drake May.
Minnesota is getting Drake May. Man, do,
So
do you buy into Drake May, or is he Mitch Trubisky 2.0?
I have trouble. So there's a couple players in this draft that I came in like wanting to be like, I want to like this guy because, and I don't know that I'm on board with Drake May. I don't know what particular reason. It feels like because he kind of, looks the part and in a lot of ways plays the part, but I only see like 2 like start them tomorrow quarterbacks in this draft, and it's Caleb Williams, it's Jaden Daniels. And
Wow.
I think Drake May will need a year or 2. I don't know if he gets that. Which, we just talked about New England. New England would be a spot where he could probably, because they've got Jacoby Brissett, who's a serviceable stopgap there. Minnesota has Sam Darnold, which it's a little bit harder to read at this point. Him 3 teams removed since he was a first round quarterback. But he's got a situation there where he's got Josh McCown, who was his coach in high school. So like there's all these dots to connect, right?
Yep.
But I don't, at this point, I don't see him going at 2 anymore. There's still a possibility, but I just think like the Jaden Daniels smoke has just gotten so thick, you just feel like that's going to happen now.
Right.
So I mean, either one of those, Patriots or Vikings, would be the situation he would go in, where they do have a veteran quarterback. But as a prospect, I don't know. I don't see top 5. Like ceiling, sure, but you got to get him there, right? So, and when you're picking in the top 5, you're usually not in the best situation to do that. So,
good point.
But we'll see what happens with the Vikings. I think they're trying to build the team the right way. They've got a room prepared that I think works for Drake May or JJ McCarthy, and in this particular sim, we're going to put him with the Vikings.
Okay. All right. Now the Chargers on the clock. Jim Harbaugh in town wants to build the 2019 Ravens, it looks like, in LA this year with Roman and all the former Ravens that have joined the team. But what do you think they do here after losing a ton of position talent last offseason?
I think so, and I'm going to go with the pick that I put in my 2.0 because I don't think it's wide receiver no matter what. I think if it's Marvin Harrison Jr., I think they will take him over the offensive lineman. So let's go with Marvin Harrison Jr.
Man, Marvin Harrison Jr. going to Greg Roman's offense. Who'd have thunk they'd take a receiver and put him in Greg Roman's offense? I notice you've consistently had Marvin Harrison as your number one receiver, whereas a lot of guys have now gotten a little cute, in my opinion, and putting guys ahead of him. In particular, multiple guys like Malik Neighbors and Rome Aduns. Is it Adunze? Adunze?
Adunze, yeah.
Adunze. What's your quick take on the difference between those three guys?
So I think with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Rome Odunze, that you've got like polished, feature wide receivers. I think both of those guys are that, and I've started to see the love for Rome Odunze coming up. I think Daniel Jeremiah said he's like his favorite player in the draft, period.
Wow.
I don't know if he has him ranked number one. I'd have to go back and look, but I just happened to see him commenting on that today. And Neighbors, obviously, I think is a more exciting player. Like Rome, they've kind of the comp has been like Larry Fitzgerald, who obviously did a lot of great things in his career, but you wouldn't sit there and say like he's the Sports Center top 10 highlights kind of thing for like explosive plays or anything like that.
Right.
I'm not a Cardinals fan. I've only seen him play a few times, so maybe he was. I don't know, but he was very much like just very steady, high floor player. Where Neighbors just has that extra gear, the run after catch and that sort of thing. So I've seen both of them. I've started to see that. I haven't moved away from Marvin Harrison Jr. just because he's just a freak show, man. like you don't get somebody that's that good that early, and like you could plug him into any team and he would be wide receiver one.
Wow.
And
well,
I
except
think
for Miami.
Well, yeah.
There's a couple.
But no, I think all
Gotcha.
three of those guys, if you were to say one is 1A, one is 1B, and one is 1C, I can't argue really with any different way. Because again, like I'm not I don't sit here and put these guys on a point scale of how to grade them. I just know they're all really good players and all worthy of a top 6, 7, 8 pick in this draft. So
Okay.
kind of in that vein, moving on to number 6 with the Giants.
Yep.
I think Rome Odunze is the guy for them.
Rome Odunze. Okay.
I think I don't know how much to buy into some of the stuff that's come out about Malik Neighbors, like some of the negative stuff. So I'm not going to say that that's impacting this, but I think like if that were to be true, the team would know it. And let's just assume that like maybe they don't want any sort of headaches that they've had. I mean, if we recall a couple of years ago, they had Kadarius Toney that they drafted in the first round and then kind of dumped him after a couple of years. Yep. And he hasn't really proved to do much more after that. Not saying that any off-field stuff is contributing to that. He just may not have, had the development, but like everything you hear about Rome Odunze seems just to be really positive, and he has that, that mentality you want from a professional. And maybe a better situation works for Malik Neighbors than it would be going to the biggest media market in the world.
A good point. Yeah. It certainly comes with a different added pressure playing under those New York lights. But the Tennessee Titans on the clock says their number one need is receivers as well, but also big need at O-line. What do you think they do?
I think they don't have a left tackle. So let's give them Joe Alt, because I think if and again, this is just me ripping off my mock draft 2.0s, they don't draft Joe Alt and he's there, that's going to be a shock.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be quite stunning, especially with the new head coach there, who seems like he wants. He's an offensive guy. Seems like he would want to, build up that build up that offensive line. But hey, he's also a former offensive coordinator that had one hell of a group of receivers where he came from in Cincinnati, coming over here. So maybe, just maybe, but we'll see. We'll see what happens draft night. All right, the Falcons on the clock. Says they need D lineman and cornerback. What's your
Well, let's just
thoughts?
forget about that and give them Malik Neighbors because I can take somebody lower down the board, or I can take somebody who probably should be going in the top 5.
Okay, so
And
they just go BPA.
they've got Drake London, they've got
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Rondale Moore now, they've got
Mm-hmm.
Darnell Mooney, but those guys are like all 1-year contracts. Kyle Pitts, they have to make a decision on. Let's just load up. We got Kirk Cousins as a quarterback. He needs
That's
all
right.
the help he can get.
That's right. That's right. I love it. All right. Well, Chicago got their quarterback at number 1 in Caleb Williams. They're back on the clock now at pick number 9. And is this the spot Brock Bowers go? No, they got a tight end. They got a good.
They've got a tight end. They've got Cole Kmet. So
That's right.
Actually, Chicago, I know they've been looking at edge rushers. So
Okay.
they'd be happy to see Dallas Turner there available at number 9.
I like that. Okay, Dallas Turner. Interesting. All right. They certainly need help there. So, all right. How about the Jets? Jets trying to, man, you talk about an all-in team. This team feels like they are all in this year. And, man, they're banking on a healthy Aaron Rodgers. And if that is the case, if he is healthy, I think they certainly have as good a shot as anyone. But what's your take, man? If Brock Bowers, is teamed up.
If you're saying, like, we're going to play this year without a net, and they're like, both these tackles with an injury history that we just signed as free agents, Tyron Smith and your guy Morgan Moses, who they got in the trade, are going to be the tackles, and let's hope they survive the season. Let's take Brock Bowers. If we're going to fly the plane, let's fly it, and if it crashes, it crashes.
Hey, you can't make that when you're talking about a New York team. That reference it's too soon. Okay, it's still too soon.
Fair enough.
But okay, yeah, that would be crazy. I think I just saw a video today of Brock Bowers doing a standing backflip where he got high enough. I think he could have tucked 2 into that backflip. That's how explosive an athlete that guy is. He is going to be a problem. Does it start to seem like there's more great tight ends in the league than there are great wide receivers?
You could probably make that case. I mean, certainly, with it's very top heavy, and I think, receiver, it's kind of debatable depending on what you think of each one of the guys that you'd probably put up there. But yeah, it certainly seems that way. And then, of course, with the influx of talent coming every year in this draft, like, I think that the kind of across the board depth with the wide receiver talent is certainly very much so. But yeah, those tight ends are making a mark now.
So many good ones out there. It seems like every team has one. It's just nutty. The Ravens, I think, have 2 with Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. I think they got 2 really good. And of course, you know better than anyone about Ferguson and what he can do over in Dallas. Yep. I mean, holy smokes, there's a ton. But Cardinals back on the clock. They got they traded back. That's right. This is the team that traded back.
They've got 11, they've got 23, and they've got 27. So we're picking 3 times for the Cardinals. But what they've kind of been looking at is corner, wide receiver, probably an edge rusher. And I think for the purposes of this, let's look at the corner. Let's not dip into that wide receiver pool just yet. We can wait a little bit for that. So we'll go to corner. And let's give them Terrion Arnold.
Terrion Arnold. Okay. All right. Terrion Arnold, first cornerback off the board. So at this point, just as a quick recap, we only have 1 tackle gone. So in this scenario, I'd be feeling pretty optimistic at this point as a Ravens fan. But I got to imagine that run is
I'm
on its way.
that run here.
Oh, no. Don't do it. Don't do it. All right. Well, let's see what the Broncos do at number 12.
Yeah, the Broncos, they're missing out on the quarterback. I'm not ready to give them Bo Nix or Penix. Like, if I'm doing this, I'm not reaching on the quarterback. So, the Broncos, their wide receiver situation's kind of in a place as well, but I think they can address that later. As far as the cornerback goes, I think they might look there too. I don't know if anybody down the board would want to trade up. Like you said, we've got the possibility of getting that other corner off the board, which I think is going to throw a wrench into some plans.
Well, you tell me, do the Cowboys want to move up? It's that's the team that's offering right now.
Oh, they actually offered?
They offered, yes.
Yeah,
Cowboys and the Niners.
Let's do it.
Okay.
We got all those tackles on the board.
That's right. All right. So what's it going to cost to go from 24 to 12?
Let's see.
Definitely 56, right?
Yeah, definitely 56, and maybe does it give? It doesn't give you like the. And let's give them a 3 for next year.
Oh, that seems too. Oh, okay. So this trade would be accepted, but is that enough? You think that would be enough to go up 12 spots? You give up your second round pick and next year's 3. Is that a fair trade?
Let me look on the trade chart real quick.
Now, according to PFF, this trade will be accepted, so they wouldn't have.
Yeah.
They find it fair.
Looking at the trade chart, 12 is worth 1,200. 24 is 740. Okay. So we got to make up 460. We got 56, which is 340. That puts us at 1080. Future 90 or future 3 is at 190. So yeah, I think that about does it. If it's a little bit of an under or overpay, but Denver is also they're kind of over a barrel too, because they don't have. I don't think they have a second round pick.
Right.
They have 12, and then their next pick is at 76. So they might be happy to pick up a second because they're kind of talent deficient as well. So.
All right. So we're going to offer this trade. They take that trade. So now the Cowboys are on the clock. What are they doing with number 12?
And I'm going to be the hero in Dallas because I'm taking Talisi Fuaga, the tackle from Oregon State.
I shouldn't have let you do this. What's going on here? All right, Fuaga's off the board. Another target that I'm sure the Ravens would love to land, but have very little chance to do so.
Yeah, because I also think that the Cowboys would have to jump the Raiders if they were to do it, despite the Penix Jr. talk. If the Raiders are taking a position, they're taking a corner, or I think they would take Fuaga. So considering their tackle of preference is gone, let's give them Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback from Toledo.
Okay. All right. I like that. Defensive head coach with Antonio Pierce. Reasonable to think that they would go defensive side when it comes to their first pick. What's going on here? This draft simulator is stalling at this point. That's just perfect. That's just, let me see what the trade. Malik says that trade was not enough. I don't know. He's got the sheet there.
That's a pretty reliable source from the Huddle Report.
Yeah, I think
they score everybody. So
yeah, they're the judge.
Believe it or not, you can go back and look at the compensation of these trades, and I feel like it's gotten less over the years. Like
really,
before it just seemed like you got to give away, the farm in order to move up. But like I said, you never know. Like some teams will underpay, some teams will overpay, some teams will drop back. It's not a draft day scenario. I didn't give away our next 3 years of second round picks to go back to the first, but
yeah, right.
At least by the math on the trade chart they supply.
Let me see here. I'm gonna have to I think we're gonna have to type in these really quickly because the draft simulator just absolutely pooped the bed on us. But the good thing is we'll just run through them real quick and
this will be our recap of what we've done so far.
Exactly. So just to let you guys
Williams.
know, that's right.
Jaden Daniels.
There we go. Where's Jaden? Why is he so far down on here? Jesus.
They don't like him, do they?
Not at all. And Drake May?
No, we had JJ going to
JJ. That's right.
So we had JJ going there.
And then we traded.
Right. And then we can just force the trade to get through this. The Vikings moving up, giving them 11 and 23.
There we go. 11, 23, 4. And then was it you threw in some other stuff too?
Yeah, but I mean, since we're not going through the first round,
That's true.
We can just force it and just give them the first round picks.
That's a good point. All right, force that. And then they took Drake May.
And then
then
we got Marvin Harrison. Rome. And Malik, what is that? Joe Alt.
Joe Alt.
Then Malik
Neighbors.
Neighbors, BPA.
That's right.
Chicago's got Dallas Turner.
That's right. Dallas Turner. I'm kind of surprised how low they are on him.
Brock Bowers.
Okay.
Then we went Terry and Arnold.
Terry and Arnold.
And then we forced the trade with the Cowboys.
That's right. That's right.
To Denver.
That's right. Cowboys. All right. And we did 24. We'll just do the just those for today.
Yeah.
Is that it, right? Because we already know that trade we did was considered to be acceptable, but using the same thing that the teams use themselves. And then they ended up going with, who'd you say?
With Fuaga.
Yeah. Come on.
Right there. There you go.
This thing is acting a little crazy. It better not freeze up again. All right. And then the Raiders went, you said corner, right?
Yeah, they went Quinyon Mitchell.
There we go. All right, cool. So on the clock with the Saints, and I know you said you don't want to reach for quarterbacks, but this is back-to-back teams that quarterbacks listed as their number one need. Who's the quarterback currently for the Saints? Who's the
Derek Carr?
I mean, he's a solid player, but it seems like everyone wants to get rid of that guy. What's your take on what the Saints do at 14?
I think they're taking a tackle because they had a first round pick that hasn't panned out with Trevor Penning, and then they've got Ryan Ramczyk, who we'll see how and when he comes back to play because he appears to have a knee issue that's problematic. So let's go with Fashanu, the tackle from Penn State.
Man, this is...
Yeah, we're going on the run here.
Come on, man. Don't... Look, the Colts have already said they're going to take White out, the fast guy. He took a visit and everything. What's going on?
I don't know about that. I think they're going to like somebody that kind of hits all their marks for the athleticism and the athletic profile and the testing, and that would be Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU.
I like it.
I think they'd like to see those corners there, but again, we're doing something a little bit different than just slotting in a corner every time for them.
No, I like that. Okay. Now the Seahawks are on the clock. They got a new head coach, Mike McDonald, young man who's about my age, the now head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, which is just incredible to think about. Like trying to put myself in the shoes of a guy who's going to run an NFL team at my age is just insane. But what do the Seahawks do with their first pick?
Well, it's kind of funny that, their GM has come out against like interior offensive line and how, you pay these guys too much and then, like they cost too much. And then it's like, well, everybody gives them an interior offensive lineman because they'll use that asset.
Yep.
I actually think somebody else is going to come up.
Oh, okay.
I think Philadelphia is a little interested to come up.
Philly. Okay. So Philly coming up from 22 to 16. And so I'm assuming you had a draft proposal that was, a trade proposal that was also.
Yeah. So this was a pick swap. So this was one I did in my 2.0. It was 22 and 53 for 16 and 102.
Okay.
But then they've got it said they're not interested in trading for this pick, probably because they're forcing what does it say, guard and center are their two main needs?
Yep.
Yeah, so we're going to force the trade.
Okay. All right, force the trade. And then who is Philly hunting for at 16?
They are actually going to go
Cooper DeJean. I know it. You're going to say it.
Absolutely not. They're going Jared Verse.
Jared Verse. Okay, let me see. Jared Verse. Wow, Philly, they're going to add to the front seven. Every year
Philly
they draft
builds
front
in
seven.
The trenches. They've got the ancient Brandon Graham. They've got Nolan Smith. They traded away Hassan Reddick, who was their best pass rusher, but Nolan Smith didn't give them a whole lot last year. They did sign Bryce Huff from the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
But again, free agency, you got to spend the money. But they like to load up. They'll take a defensive tackle after they took a defensive tackle in the first round the previous year. So that's what we're going to do is just give them more on the defense and keep that strong. So that's what we're going to do.
All right. I can't believe, is this accurate? They're saying the Eagles' biggest need is wide receiver when they have A.J. Brown. They just
They have
signed,
AJ Brown. They just extended Devontae Smith.
like,
Yeah,
why?
I think they need to go back and reevaluate what the needs are.
That is quite silly. All
Just
right.
just
Jags
me.
on the clock. What are they doing?
The Jags are so disappointed that both of those corners are gone. And if this was an opportunity for them to bump back, which I think would be a possibility, I won't just sit here and repeat my 2.0 mock. So let's give them something different.
Okay.
So what does it have them there? It has them at guard and center. I'm gonna look at
Yep.
my
Guard,
needs, see if that
center,
lines up.
edge, and DB. Yep.
So what I have for them is corner is the top need, um, but then they've got value picks at either wide receiver
Mm-hmm.
or offensive tackle.
Okay.
They did just draft was it I think it was Anton Harrison last year, so you would assume they've got a tackle in mind for to slot in at left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
So from a wide receiver perspective, I don't see anybody there. So
Okay.
maybe they will go back to the DB land. And I'm not going
Cooper.
to give them Cooper. Let's
Good.
give them Nate Wiggins.
All right. Nate Wiggins, corner out of Clemson. Okay. I like that. Now, the
So there you go.
Bengals, I bet they were hoping Bowers would have dropped to this point.
Absolutely, they were.
That
I think they'd also like one of those tackles, but I don't know that the one they would want has fallen to them.
Well, they
Um,
got the two biggest tackles in the world, is what I just saw on Twitter. Everybody's flexing. I'm like, look, their left tackle is a damn right tackle. He started at right tackle. He should have stayed his ass at right tackle instead of whining his way out of Baltimore and tanking his trade value. But look, as you can see, I'm still not over Big Sloppy leaving. But look, they got two tackles, but the right tackle is aging, to say it lightly. What do you
yeah.
think they do here?
Well, like I said, I think it would have to be. I think they would like to see Fuaga there, but since
Mm-hmm.
I already took him and saved football in Dallas, um, no, I won't go that far. But that is a line from Draft Day. You should watch it. It's the time of year to watch it. It's horrible, but it's entertaining. I don't see them taking one of those guys. I think Fautanu would be a possibility,
Mm-hmm.
but I also think somebody would want to come up for a Fautanu. But for the sake of this, let's go down and give them Byron Murphy since they're looking for defensive line help.
Byron Murphy, was he at the top? No, he was down low. Okay, yeah, here he
He's
is.
number
Byron Murphy.
12.
Got you. Okay, cool.
I think they'd like to see him there.
Because did they not just lose DJ Reader? I think DJ Reader's gone.
Yeah, DJ Reader. I don't recall who he signed with. They replaced him with Sheldon Rankins and BJ Hill. But
Okay.
Byron Murphy's a different type of. He's more of that interior rusher as opposed to those guys are kind of your
Run
bigger
stuffers.
run stuffers. So, but
Okay.
LA is up next.
Man, it's been a while, dude. I wonder if they know what it's like picking in the first round.
Yeah, they've been out of this game for a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
so I think their primary needs are going to be on the front seven as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm going to go with somebody who's been a popular pick for them as well, which is Laiatu Latu.
All right. So going back to the edge, certainly need help in pass rush with the retiring of Aaron Donald, which is going to be, I mean, man, talk about, there's so many players that I think, or not so many, there's a few players that I think have retired with plenty of football left in them, and he's certainly one of them. But shout out to him for realizing that, he's more than just a football player, and retired when he wanted to and not when he was forced into by injury or by, his performance dropping off. But this is the pick I'm really interested in, because every time I do a mock, Jason, I look at what the Steelers do, and damn it, if they don't pick a bunch of damn good players, just like they do in real life. I hate it. They're so good at drafting. It drives me nuts. I will say I celebrated the Kenny Pickett draft. I did not think that was going to be good, and I was ultimately right about that. But
yeah,
what are the Steelers doing at 20?
Steelers are going Mims, Marius Mims. I think they've done a
Good.
lot of homework on him, and I think they're really interested. They took his teammate Broderick Jones last year, so now they'll have Jones moving over to left and then Marius Mims on the right. So I think they'll like to see him there.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's just hope that he's a little banged up when it's time for the Ravens to play against him, because those are two big boys. And then they got that tight end out of Alabama last year. Who was that giant tight end out of Alabama who's 280?
Darnell Washington. Yeah.
They got him too. So I don't want to see all that lined up in front of the Ravens with those backs and Justin Fields likely running the quarterback position after Russell Wilson gets benched. I don't want to see that rush attack. No.
They're doing what the Eagles have done on defense. They've drafted all the Georgia players, and now Pittsburgh's doing all the offense, and even Justin Fields, who originally was at Georgia for a spell. So
look at that, comes full circle there.
Now, if we'll see if Russell Wilson can see over either of those two guys. They're both pretty gigantic, but he'll just have to throw it over the middle.
You better find them passing lanes, Russ. But let's see what the Dolphins do, because tight end obviously a need when they. Oh, I guess I should. I do think the Bengals got their tight end Gesicki. Is that correct? Or Gesicki went somewhere, and I think he might have went to the Bengals.
Believe so.
It's a nice pickup for the Bengals, unfortunately for the Ravens.
Yeah. So the Dolphins, I think they're more going to be focused on the offensive line. I think with the players that are still on the board, and I'm going to give them Troy Fautanu.
Troy's the guy. Okay. They certainly need help there. All right. Philly traded up earlier, so the Seattle Seahawks are now on the clock at 22. What are they doing?
Yeah, Seahawks, I'm going to go with kind of the surprise pick that feels very Seahawks-ish, and I'm going to give them Edgerrin Cooper, the linebacker from Texas A&M.
Let me see here. I have a feeling he's probably low.
They probably have him a little bit lower, but there has been reports that, he could be a crash the first round type of guy. So those teams that are looking at him in the 50s in a shallow linebacker class, he's very much in the running for the best one.
Because they don't have Bobby Wagner anymore. Is that correct?
No, Bobby Wagner is with the Commanders, and they signed, I think, Jerome Baker. They basically traded linebackers in free agency with the Dolphins. The Dolphins got Jordan Brooks, and then the Seahawks got Jerome Baker.
Which Baker had a ton of tackles last year. Isn't that correct?
Yeah.
I remember correctly? Yeah. So,
all
right. Well, we'll see how Mike McDonald. Yeah, we'll see what Mike McDonald does over there. All right. Now the Cardinals back on the clock at 23. Let's see here. What did we give? What did they do?
We gave them Terry and Arnold, cornerback. So
okay.
They're going to look at let's look at the wide receivers. Who do we have left?
Yep, a wide receiver
on the board there, because they're going to need to fill that spot. So we got A.D. Mitchell, we got Troy Franklin, Ladd McConkey, everybody's favorite Keon Coleman.
Dude, why is it that he became people get angry in our chat when we say that they're not going to take Keon Coleman at 30? Why does everyone love Keon Coleman so much?
You'd have to tell me. I mean, I kind of I'm an objective observer. I think he's a big target, but I don't think you got to pick him at 30 also. Like I said in the previous show, it depends on how you stack those receivers. I don't know that he'll be available at the end of the second round, but for the quantity that there is and the different flavors that you have of talent, if a team wants a big receiver, they'll certainly take him, but it doesn't mean you have to take him at 30. So I think for the Cardinals, let's give them A.D. Mitchell there.
I like
23.
that.
I just feel like that's the spot. Whichever team is picking there, whether it's Minnesota, whether it was New England, who I had in my trade and my mock, whether it's the Cardinals, I feel like 23 is the spot for A.D. Mitchell, whoever the team is. So you just kind of pencil him in there, because whatever team that maybe makes that trade, it could even be the Chargers, could look at him at that spot. So.
Yeah. I think that is that'd be a nice replacement for Hollywood Brown. They just lost to add some some little extra juice to the wide receiver room. I do think they have an awesome tight end in Trey McBride. I think he's fantastic. So add some, and they got one. Who's that wide receiver they got? Solid player.
I think it's Michael Wilson. I think
that's it.
Yeah. So he's kind of the room right now, because I said, I think they traded. I think it was a trade that Rondale Moore ended up with the Falcons, and then they have Greg Dortch. They have a couple other kind of depth players, but they need a primary target there, and so he's the next of that second tier there.
Well, let me ask you this. I got a quick question here.
Yeah,
because this is a spot where I could see I could see a spot. I could see a potential for the Ravens. Say they fell in love with J.C. Latham. I got to imagine Green Bay's going tackle here. So, do you look at this as a spot where the Ravens might look to trade up just a few spots to get the tackle that they think is a day one starter?
I think they would, and I think Denver would be open to it because I don't, the only worry you have would be a team wanting to come up for the quarterback, and there ain't too many of those teams that are left that absolutely need to do that.
Yeah.
We've taken the first four. Obviously, everybody has connected the Raiders to Penix. I think the pick for Denver, if we stay put, is Bo Nix. But you tell me, as the Ravens GM in this simulation, do you want to make an offer for that pick?
I do want to make an offer. I want to see what it's going to take for me to go from 30 to 24. So if you have that that calculator out with you, I'm going to see what it's going to take here. All right. So obviously 30 and 24. But can I get away with, do I have to give up 93? I guess is my question. Is that a must?
I think from a realism perspective, I think that's the caveat that goes with it. Because the difference between the two on this chart, 740 for 24, 620 for 30. So you got to make up 120 points, and 93 is 128.
Oh, so it's so perfect. Oh, of course. Would the Ravens give up their third round pick? You know what's interesting is if you look at their history, even like certainly in their recent history, like the last decade, and compare their second round pick versus what they've done in the third round, they have been so much more successful in the third round that it's not even close. Their second round picks have been god awful. Like, you got to go back to Torrey Smith until they had a hit in the second round. Like, and some of it's just been bad luck. Like J.K. Dobbins had terrible injury luck. Like, I don't blame them for all of them. But in the third round, like a couple years ago, they got Mark Andrews and Orlando Brown Jr. in the third round. They got Justin Metabike the year before in the third round. Like, they've just nailed their third round pick. So,
yeah, it's an asset. Or do you want to see what happens when I draft for the teams and wait till 30?
You know what? The reason I can't do it is because I just can't imagine that Eric DeCosta is going to sit all third round and not have a single pick. So I'm not going to do it. I kicked the tires on it but yeah, I'm not going to do it. All right. So you said they're taking, who are they taking?
The Broncos are taking Bo Nix. They were willing to drop back, but now they've got to take that quarterback. So,
well, go ahead and rip my heart out. Take them. I know you're going to say it. Who's Green Bay taking?
Green Bay is going to take Graham Barton.
Oh, I like that.
Because he has a position flex, and I think they kind of have a puzzle to put together with their offense. So whatever best spot works for him. He's, a tackle by trade. Everybody's projecting him into a center, including me. But a lot of people also project him as guard. So I think he does have 5 position flex. So wherever he slots best into their best 5, that's where they're going to put him.
Well, you know what's interesting here is that I also think that the Bills are very much so in the market for a tackle. I do think they need wide receiver help as well, but tackle is certainly big on their list. And it just so happens right now that one of the two teams that we're willing to offer a trade right now are the Baltimore Ravens. So I need you to get that calculator back out one more time for me, Jason, because I need to know what the difference is between 26 and 30, and do I still have to give up 93?
26 is 700. 30 is 620. If you wanted to give up 113, I can do that.
Whoa, okay. What's 113?
So just a fourth. It's 82.
That's perfect.
Your overpay is by 2 points.
I'm doing it. I am doing it. We are going up to 26. I love it. Okay.
That's your pick. You got Cooper there. You got JC. You got Kool-Aid.
It's JC. It's no questions asked. It's JC Latham. So before we go on to 27, I need you to grade my pick. I mean, if the Ravens were able to land JC Latham in the first round, whether it be here at 26 or if they're fortunate enough to have him fall to 30, would that be a good pick for the Ravens?
Yeah, that's an A. And this was the trade that I kind of teased a couple shows back. I actually had the Ravens going up to 21 with the Dolphins. and that cost you 30, 93, and 130 for 21. So
Wow.
that was the compensation. So you
Man.
got a you got a better trade, and you still got your player.
Man, I didn't have to give up. I didn't have to give up 93, man. This really worked out. Holy smokes. Okay. All right. Well, let's finish off this first round. Who are the Cardinals going with here at 27?
Yeah, the Cardinals, I think we're going to look at pass rusher,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to go with Chop.
Yeah. I know you're a lot higher on Chop than a lot of guys are. Of course, Ravens fans don't want anything to do with him because of Odafe Owe, but you think he's no Odafe Owe. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't know. All of these guys, he does have a similar, prospect profile coming out where you hope that the best football is ahead of him.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, like when I watched him, I saw a lot there to work with, and I made the comp to Micah Parsons, maybe like the discount version to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think like it's hard to figure out where you can slot him. I think the Rams could be a possibility.
Okay.
But otherwise, I think this kind of area, 26, 27, like you traded with Tampa, but I think they would look at him there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Cardinals, if they were to make this trade, they would be looking at him there too. So we're going to give him to the Cardinals. And then that gives us Buffalo.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And Buffalo really wanted that wide receiver there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they did. So you're telling me that Lad McConkey's not worthy of this pick?
Oh no, I'm not saying that at all because that's their pick.
Oh, look at that! I knew where you were going.
I think they would want one of the I think either Brian Thomas or A.D. Mitchell to be there. But I think they'd be perfectly fine to take Lad McConkey.
All right, so Lad's off the board, and man, that would be a nice pickup for Josh Allen. But let's go 29, Detroit. Where are they going?
Yeah, Detroit. I've kind of and this is a popular one for them too. I just think the mentality fits is Darius Robinson from Missouri.
Okay.
So I don't know where was this PFF you have. I don't know where they have him, but I think he's a kind of a fringe first round. Yeah, they're pretty low on him, but yeah, I think he's a top 40 player all day.
Nice. Okay. 6'5", 296. That's a big boy at edge.
Yeah, he has some inside outside versatility, so
certainly
I think he can mix in there pretty well in Detroit.
Yeah, put him on the interior and let him rush from the inside on a definite passing. Woo! At 296. I mean, that's a big boy. All right, so the Bucks are back on the clock. Pick 30. Where are they going?
Yeah, I think it comes down to two things. Despite their needs posted there, I think they want a center or an edge rusher, and I think it's kind of hard to overlook JPJ there, if at 30 especially.
Yeah,
so they picked up 113 from the Ravens, and they're still going to get the player they would have drafted there.
I love that. Yeah, because they lost Jensen, Ryan Jensen, formerly the Ravens, who was definitely a fan favorite, just recently retired. So they certainly need to replace what he left that void. But 31, Niners on the clock. I'm always interested in what the Niners are doing because I got a lot of respect for what they do over there. I think they do a great job. I think they got a great tandem of head coach and GM. And although I do think it was a massive, massive error, swing and miss, and almost fire-worthy type of mess up when they go with Trey Lance in the first round and give up all that they gave up just to completely give up on the kid. But they saved their ass by getting Brock frickin' Purdy with the last pick, and he turned out the way he did.
Yeah, it's kind of a wash when you think about like the assets they gave up versus where they appear to have found their quarterback. So
they got so lucky, man. If they wouldn't have found him, oh my God, they look like idiots.
Yeah. But that's the thing is like if they didn't, then they probably wouldn't have traded Trey Lance, to Dallas. So and plus they, for the way these picks were kind of, like Mac Jones got traded and then Justin Fields got traded, they actually got better compensation back too because they got a fourth in return for Trey Lance versus a fifth or a sixth that these other guys got. So it kind of worked out for them. But looking at what they're looking at now, the main need that San Francisco's been looking at is a right tackle. Okay. And we actually have one of those still on the board, and that's going to be Tyler Guyton.
Tyler Guyton off the board. There he is out of Oklahoma. All right. So number 32, and this is another team. Obviously, every team should be watching what these suckers are doing over in Kansas City, but certainly the Ravens have an eye on anything that they're going to be doing because they know that the AFC goes through, really the whole NFL goes through Kansas City at this point. But man, I feel like this is a big draft for them because with the aging Travis Kelce and the fact that they have Hollywood at receiver, but it looks like Rice is about to be in for some serious legal issues from the crash he just got into. But what's your take on what they do at 32 here?
Well, I think, kind of the two schools of thought is like, oh, they're just going to take Xavier Worthy, right? Because he's the fast guy. He's the, 2 years removed Tyreek Hill replacement.
Yep.
But they're also looking at offensive line. And I think, one of the kind of the things that's continued to bubble up is that if there's a certain tackle there, they're going to take him. And that's Kingsley Suamataia.
Kingsley, okay.
So we went on that tackle run,
Yep. There he is. Yeah, I like Kingsley, man. I just can't. I don't know if the Ravens would take him if he was there at 30, but I think they should. But I'm a fan of Kingsley, dude. I think he's
I think here's my irresponsible prediction. I think he goes in the first round. I think he goes higher than some of these tackles that we've talked about a lot more.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I actually, and this was my end of March projection. I think he goes to Dallas at 24.
Oh, okay. Well, or is that just now? What is that DraftPlex talking, or is that Jason the Cowboys fan talking?
Both, because that's going to be that was my pick for them in my 2.0, and that's probably going to be my final pick for them as well. I think he compares really well to Matthew Bergeron from last year as a tackle coming out, even though they kind of looked at him as a guard. He ended up going to Atlanta, but he was in the discussion. It was down to Mozzie and Matthew Bergeron as their pick last year in the first round.
Okay.
And Mozzie won out, and then we'll see how that turns out. But I also look at him as so a lot of the projection on these tackles outside of, Joe Alt and probably Jordan Morgan, most of these guys are right tackles by trade. And despite there just being like, oh, we'll just flip these guys side to side, that's not the easiest transition for everybody. It's actually, if you look back at this level in the first round, you don't want to do that. A lot of teams do that, but I wouldn't go in thinking, oh, we're going to take a right tackle and flip him to left, because it's all, footwork, it's routine, it's pattern, muscle memory. And then you're just creating obstacles for it. Whereas Kingsley is a left tackle. He's played both and done so well, but I also think, the athletic testing and everything, it just lines up really well. I think he checks a lot of those boxes that I think Dallas would look at. And, a couple of years ago, they took Tyler Smith early in the first round, and he's an all-pro. So, I mean, there's a precedent for taking someone that's kind of consistently lower and taking him early. And that's why I kind of have him as a 1-2. But I also think Kansas City, if Dallas takes a center, or if they take a different tackle, Kansas City probably would have a hard time passing on him as well. So, I think I'm happy with our results. I think you're happy.
Yeah, I mean, so do you look at J.C. Latham as the preferred pick over Kingsley and over Tyler if they're all three available at 30?
I think J.C. Latham kind of, and I've had to adjust the where I have them in the rankings, because it's hard to find a place to put him. But I think where you drafted him, he is a clear ahead of Kingsley, ahead of Guyton. Realistically, he might be ahead of Barton as well.
Okay, just depends.
So I think value wise, you got the best value for the pick that you made there.
Nice. Eric, just call me. Eric, just call me. I'll take care of everything. Let's see. Don C, our guy, mainstay. He says, great stream, guys. I miss Jimmy and Glenn and Jimmy. DK on the sauce, texting reckless, and my Ravens on Sunday. Much love and respect. 410 fam. Yeah, my guy, man. I mean, Don C, the legend that is Don C. So supportive. Appreciate your continued support and generosity. I finally, guys, look, I'm trying. I got no DK in the back, so I'm trying to do everything. I put that troublemaker in timeout. All right, Turbo. I put your ass in timeout. I didn't block you. I just put you in timeout just to get you to cool off a little bit. I don't know what was being said, but I did come back to the chat saying you gotta block this guy. Now I'm seeing in the chat that Blackula says that JC Latham gets a lot of penalties. Is that something that popped up during your evaluation of him? Is he a perpetual penalty guy?
I didn't notice that specifically.
Okay.
Let me look.
Yeah, because we don't need. That's
The only
one
thing,
way.
like really, the only thing that I've like seen a lot is obviously the track record of Alabama tackles
Right, not good.
to the next level is not great. So, but yeah, the penalties is not something that I saw specifically.
Okay.
It doesn't mean it's not out there. It's just, again,
You didn't notice.
I'm not digging into the profiles that deep and charting them on every single thing that happens. You've got first round tackle,
Mm-hmm.
and then we've got other guys we're trying to flip positions based on limited experience. We've got Mims, whose talent may be out of this world. He's played 8 college games, so it is an inexact science. So
certainly, you never do know. But if you had to project, do you look at JC Latham as a guy who could potentially start at right tackle this year and transition to left tackle where he plays the remaining years of his career next year? Is that possible for him?
I think it's possible, and he's certainly been vocal about his ability to do that over the course of the draft cycle. At the very least, if not to change his position already in this simulated scenario here, but he could also make for probably a pretty good guard as well. So there's that too. We got to fill that hole as well. So
certainly, yeah.
And as you've seen, there are some other second round tackles that
DK is here,
solid as well.
Dude, I didn't even know you were here, dude. Sorry, dude. I'm sorry, Jay. I just now saw DK because you have to scroll down. So I just saw an additional window open, and I was like, dude. And then somebody popped up this comment. I'm like, someone must be here. Sorry, I totally was thrown off. My focus was thrown off. But Steven says, Xavier, I know he meant Leggett, feels like a Raven, like Anquan Bolden. Chances you think we get him? Well, I will say this. When I did my last 3-round mock with Cole Jackson of Road Graders, we did have the Ravens trading out of the first round, and their pick they made in the second round was Xavier Leggett. So I guess this is a good opportunity to say, what are your chances of the Ravens getting him? Because I don't think they would take him at 30, but what's the lowest you think he would go? Like, could he make it to 63?
I think he could. Again, like we've talked about these wide receivers, like I've got him amongst. I think I have him at my wide receiver 8, and of the kind of in the the top 2 rounds, I think I have 12 receivers. So that's probably not common for 12 receivers to go in the top 63 picks. That's what 20% of the picks being wide receivers. But depending on how the board falls, you could stand in and pick him and possibly have a chance of getting him at 63. I think he does go in round 2. I don't know that he crashes round 1. But there could be some teams looking at him earlier in the second round too. So
okay, and you like him as a player? You think he's a good player?
Yeah. He certainly stands out among that second tier. You do have a lot of slot options amongst that, but obviously he's a bigger bodied receiver, certainly a bigger target. I know. Like I've started to see like Buffalo might be interested in him. I don't know that they would go there at 28. That could be their fallback if they're wiped out of who they wanted to take early. They could trade out and maybe look at him early in the second round. So, but yeah, he's a good player and certainly worthy of that being in the top 64.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think he's a fun player to watch, man. That's for sure. Like that guy, explosive. Like, yeah, he's also fun to listen to in interviews. I like his southern drawl and Yeah, I think the Ravens would likely put him in front of the microphone quite often. But yeah, I mean, I'd be happy with this trade. If it resulted this way as a Ravens fan, I'd be absolutely thrilled. I'm assuming as a Cowboy fan, you would absolutely love that trade that you made early to go up and get who did we end up taking?
We're getting
Fuaga.
Fuaga. Yeah, we're taking we're kind of betting against those comp picks we'll be getting last year for letting all our free agents go. So
And that's part of the reason why I was okay with giving up the pick this year,
Mhm.
because the Ravens are set to max out the potential comp picks for next year with all the free agents they lost. So, yes, they might give up their fourth this year, but they're expected to get multiple comp picks in that same round next year. So, yeah, I certainly
Yeah.
think that factors into things. But I think that's going to do it for us tonight, folks. I appreciate you, Jason, absolutely for
Oh,
being
thanks for having me.
oh, yeah, certainly for being our co-host and also the GM of the 29 to 30 other teams that made selections. And I love that we didn't just go chalk. We didn't just go, stand pat and pick. No, the Ravens trade. How many trades did we do total? Was it
I
4?
think 3 or 4. Yeah.
It's definitely 3 or 4, which is pretty cool. And we gave the fans a little bit something to look forward to. But I honestly don't think that that's like unreasonable to think that this could be similar. It could be relatively accurate. Steven goes on to say, we all know best player available is in our DNA, but with an O-line overhaul, do you see reaching for linemen because we need to invest in Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry? I mean, I could certainly see if they think that there's a guy that they think is the guy that gets them over that hump. But the Ravens are not a team that ever looks at a year as an all-in year. They want to compete year in and year out. So I don't think they'll, give up the farm to jump up to the top, 10 or top 12 to get a guy. That just doesn't seem like something they would do. But this type of a trade, a reasonable, jump up, giving up a 4th round pick, when again they're likely to get multiple 4th round comp picks for the guys they lost this year. I do think that that's certainly a possibility. That BPA thing is definitely in their DNA when you see a guy like Kyle Hamilton drop, but don't think that they don't take need and all that stuff into account, especially with their first pick. There's no way around it. It's be crazy to think that they're not. So yeah, I do think that they'll jump up, but I don't think they'll go all in and sell out for this year. Absolutely. But I do
No,
appreciate
because
it too.
even if you didn't trade up, like you had some options there still on the offensive line. You still had Guyton there, who I think would be
Mhm.
a good pick for the Ravens. You had Jordan Morgan. Kingsley was still there. So
Mhm.
and like you said, it was a reasonable move up, like just a little jump, and it didn't cost you all that much. And you could just as easily gain a 4th round back if you wanted to bump down in the 2nd round or,
That's a good point.
pick swap or anything of that sort. So as long as you're not dipping into next year's like I did,
Mhm.
with the Cowboys trade up, I think you'd be good shape. And this is a good draft for rebuilding offensive line. We've talked about that. Every position is reasonably deep. Tackle, guard, center. In the position flex of a lot of these guys too. So a reach is probably not going to be necessary, but it's always worth a little bit of a bump if you're somebody you really want as your guy. You'd be
Mhm.
willing to go up for.
No doubt, no doubt. Let's just see. I will say Eric DeCosta more aggressive in every way than Ozzie Newsome, who was the more patient guy, and certainly his taught EDC some patience. But I do think if there's anyone who's going to be aggressive, it would probably be more so him than the old regime with Ozzie. But that's it for us tonight, folks. Jason, thank you again, and I'm certain we'll be talking at some point before the draft. But yeah, thanks again for filling tonight, guys. We'll be back later
Of
this
course.
week. Not sure which day exactly. It's either going to be Thursday night or Friday night. Looking to have another special guest fill in for Jimmy until Jimbo Slimbo's back out and get ready to go. But thanks for joining us, and we'll talk soon.